The lonely rancher rescues a pregnant woman lost in a blizzard and finds the love he never imagined. In the harsh wilderness of the American West, where survival depends on grit and compassion can mean the difference between life and death, one man's act of kindness will change everything. Today's story takes us to the snow-covered plains of Wyoming, where a lonely rancher's simple rescue becomes an extraordinary journey of love, healing, and second chances. If you enjoy this type of content, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. The blizzard had been raging for 3 days across the Wyoming territory, turning the landscape into a treacherous white void. Samuel Morrison pulled his coat tighter as he checked on his cattle one final time before nightfall. At 35, Sam had weathered many storms, both literal and metaphorically, on his remote ranch. The death of his wife Sarah 2 years prior had left him as isolated as his property, surrounded by nothing but endless plains and memories. As he guided his horse through the knee-deep snow toward the barn, a dark shape caught his eye near the old oak tree that marked his property's eastern boundary. At first he thought it might be a fallen branch, or perhaps a calf that had wandered too far from the herd. But as he approached, his heart lurched. It was a woman, collapsed in the snow, her dark hair stark against the white ground. Sam dismounted quickly, his boots crunching through the frozen surface. The woman was unconscious, her lips blue with cold, but she was breathing. As he knelt beside her, he noticed the unmistakable curve of her belly beneath her thin coat. She was heavily pregnant. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" he called, gently shaking her shoulder. Her eyelids fluttered, revealing green eyes clouded with exhaustion and fear. "Please," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the wind. "My baby, ... Without hesitation, Sam lifted her into his arms. She was lighter than he expected, clearly malnourished. "You're safe now," he said firmly, carrying her toward his horse. "I'm going to get you warm." The journey to his cabin felt endless. The woman who had mumbled her name was Emma, drifted in and out of consciousness, occasionally gripping his coat with surprising strength. Sam's mind raced with questions. How had she ended up alone in a blizzard? Where was her husband? But those concerns could wait. Right now, survival was the only priority. His cabin, though modest, was sturdy and warm. Sam had built it himself after Sarah's death, needing something smaller and more manageable than their old farmhouse. He carried Emma inside and immediately began stoking the fire, the flames casting dancing shadows across the rough-hewn walls. "Stay with me," he murmured as he wrapped her in his warmest blankets. Her skin was dangerously cold, and he could see she was fighting to stay conscious. "What's your name again?" "Emma," she managed, her teeth chattering violently. "Emma, ... Collins." Sam prepared hot broth and sat beside her as she sipped it slowly. The color gradually returned to her cheeks, and her breathing became more steady. As the immediate danger passed, he found himself studying her face, the delicate curve of her jaw, the way her auburn hair caught the firelight, the determined set of her mouth even in her weakened state. "How far along are you?" he asked gently. 7 months, Emma replied, her hand instinctively moving to her belly. "Maybe 8. I've lost track of time." The admission hung heavy in the air. Sam had been around enough ranch animals to know that 8 months meant the baby could come at any time, especially under stress. The nearest doctor was in Cheyenne, a 2-day ride in good weather. In this blizzard, it might as well be on the moon. "You're safe here," he said, meaning it completely. The storm should pass in a day or two. "Until then, you're welcome to stay." Emma's eyes filled with tears, whether from relief, exhaustion, or something else. Sam couldn't tell. "Thank you," she whispered. "I don't know how to repay such kindness." "No payment needed," Sam replied, stoking the fire again. "Out here, we help each other. That's how we survive." As Emma fell into the first peaceful sleep she'd had in days, Sam sat in his chair by the fire, watching over her. The storm continued to rage outside, but inside his cabin, something had shifted. For the first time in 2 years, the silence didn't feel oppressive. It felt protective, like a cocoon around this unexpected guest who had stumbled into his life. If you're enjoying the story so far, a quick like really helps support the channel. The blizzard continued through the night, but by morning, the wind had calmed to a gentle whisper. Sam woke early, as was his habit, and found Emma sitting by the window, watching the snow fall in fat, lazy flakes. She had managed to braid her hair and looked more rested, though still fragile. "How are you feeling?" he asked, bringing her a cup of coffee and some eggs he'd gathered from his small coop. "Better," she said, accepting the food gratefully. "Stronger. The baby's been active all morning. Think he knows he's safe now? Sam raised an eyebrow. Emma smiled, the first genuine smile he'd seen from her. It transformed her entire face, making her look younger and lighting up her green eyes. Just a feeling. I've been calling him James, after my father. Sam nodded, settling into his chair with his own coffee. Tell me about your father. As Emma spoke about growing up on a small farm in Ohio, Sam found himself drawn into her stories. Her father had been a blacksmith and farmer, a gentleman who taught her to read and encouraged her dreams of becoming a teacher. Her mother had died when Emma was 16, and she'd cared for her father until his death the previous year. That's when I met Thomas, she said, her voice growing quieter. My husband. He seemed so charming, so full of promises about our life together. She paused, her hand moving to her belly. It wasn't until after we were married that I saw his true nature. Sam set down his coffee cup, recognizing the pain in her voice. He'd seen that look before, the haunted expression of someone who'd endured more than they should have. He drank, Emma continued, staring out at the snow. And when he drank, he became violent. I tried to make it work, tried to believe he could change, especially when I learned about the baby. But 3 weeks ago, after she touched her cheek unconsciously, and Sam's jaw tightened, I couldn't stay anymore. I took what little money I had saved and left. Where were you headed? Sam asked gently. California. I heard there were teaching positions available, places where a woman could make an honest living. But this broke down 2 days outside of Cheyenne, and the driver said it would be a week before replacement parts arrived. I thought I could walk to the next town, but then the storm hit. Sam shook his head. Walking 30 miles in your condition, in a blizzard, Emma, you could have died. I know, she said quietly. But staying felt like dying too. At least this way, my baby had a chance. The courage in her words struck Sam deeply. This woman had risked everything for her unborn child, had chosen the unknown over the familiar hell she'd been living. It reminded him of the strength Sarah had shown during her final illness. Never complaining, always thinking of others. You don't have to keep running, he said impulsively, then immediately wondered if he'd overstepped. But Emma looked at him with such hope that he continued. I mean, if you need time to figure out your next move, you're welcome to stay here until after the baby comes. It's not much, but it's safe and warm. Emma's eyes filled with tears again, but this time Sam was certain they were tears of relief. I couldn't impose like that. You don't even know me. I know enough, Sam said firmly. I know you're brave enough to protect your child, smart enough to leave a bad situation, and strong enough to survive a blizzard. That's all I need to know. Over the following days, as the storm gradually cleared, a comfortable routine developed. Emma insisted on helping with household tasks, despite Sam's protests, claiming it made her feel useful rather than like a burden. She cooked meals while he tended to the animals. And in the evenings, they sat by the fire, sharing stories and playing cards. Sam found himself looking forward to these conversations more than he'd enjoyed anything in years. Emma was intelligent and well-read, with opinions on everything from politics to literature. She listened intently when he spoke about ranching, asking thoughtful questions that showed she genuinely cared about his life and work. You never wanted children? She asked one evening as they watched the fire burn low. Sam was quiet for a long moment. Sarah and I tried for years. It just never happened. The doctor in Cheyenne said sometimes these things aren't meant to be. He looked at Emma, noting how her hands constantly moved to her belly, protecting and comforting her unborn child. I used to think that was true. Now, I wonder if maybe we were just waiting for the right time. The words hung between them, loaded with possibility and unspoken hope. Emma reached across the space between their chairs and briefly touched his hand. It was the first time they'd made physical contact since that first night, and Sam felt something electric pass between them. Sarah was lucky to have someone who loved her so completely, Emma said softly. I'm the one who was lucky, Sam replied. And now, well, maybe I'm lucky again. Leave a comment about what you think of this story so far. 2 weeks had passed since the blizzard, and the snow had begun to melt, revealing patches of brown grass and the promise of spring. Emma had grown stronger and more comfortable in Sam's home, and he had grown accustomed to her presence in ways that both thrilled and terrified him. The cabin felt alive again, filled with her laughter, her humming while she worked, and the quiet conversations that lasted long into the night. But with Emma's health improving came the inevitable question of what would happen next. Neither of them had spoken directly about her plans, but Sam could see her growing restless, looking out toward the horizon with a mixture of longing and uncertainty. The road to Cheyenne should be passable in another week, he mentioned casually one morning as they shared breakfast. Emma nodded, but her smile seemed forced. Yes, I suppose it should be. You could still catch a coach to California, Sam continued, watching her face carefully. Though traveling with a baby might be difficult. It would, Emma agreed quietly. But I've been thinking, maybe California isn't the only option. Sam's heart leaped, but he kept his voice steady. What do you mean? Emma set down her fork and looked directly at him. Samuel, these past weeks have been the happiest I've been in a very long time. You've shown me kindness I didn't know existed, and I've felt safer here than I ever did in my marriage. But I won't presume to think you want us to stay permanently. What if I do? The words escaped before Sam could stop them. He saw Emma's eyes widen and rushed to continue. I know it's sudden, and I know your situation is complicated. But Emma, I care about you. More than I thought I could care about anyone again. Emma's hand went to her throat, and Sam could see her pulse beating rapidly there. Samuel, you don't know what you're saying. I'm another man's wife, carrying another man's child. People would talk. They'd judge you, judge us both. Let them talk, Sam said with more conviction than he felt. I've lived alone for 2 years, Emma. I've been existing, not living. But with you here, I remember what it feels like to have hope, to look forward to tomorrow instead of just enduring it. Tears slipped down Emma's cheeks, but she didn't look away. What are you asking of me? Sam stood and moved to kneel beside her chair, taking her hands in his. I'm asking you to stay. Marry me, Emma. Let me be a father to your child, a husband to you, not because you need rescue, but because I love you. The word hung in the air between them, and Sam realized it was true. Somewhere between that first desperate night and this moment, he had fallen completely in love with this brave, beautiful woman who had stumbled into his life. You love me, Emma whispered. I do, Sam said firmly. I love your strength, your intelligence, your kindness. I love the way you hum while you cook, the way you talk to your baby when you think I'm not listening. I love that you risked everything to protect your child, and I love that you've made my house feel like a home. Again, Emma pulled one hand free to touch his cheek. Oh, Samuel, I love you too. I've been fighting it because it seemed impossible, but I do. I love your gentleness, your steady presence. I love that you saved my life without asking for anything in return, and that you've made me believe in love again. Sam's heart soared as he leaned into her touch. Then stay. We'll make this work, whatever comes, but the baby will be our baby, Sam interrupted firmly. From the moment he's born, he'll be mine in every way that matters. I'll love him as my own, because he's yours. Emma's tears flowed freely now, but she was smiling. Are you certain? Once we do this, there's no going back. My past will always follow us. Then we'll face it together, Sam said, bringing her hand to his lips. Besides, in a few months, when word gets around that Samuel Morrison married a beautiful woman who gave him a son, people will be too busy congratulating me to ask uncomfortable questions. Emma laughed through her tears. You make it sound so simple. Love is simple, Sam said, standing and helping her to her feet. It's everything else that's complicated. But we'll figure it out as we go. That afternoon, Sam rode to town to speak with Reverend Matthews, leaving Emma to rest and process everything that had happened. When he returned, he found her in the kitchen, preparing dinner and humming the same tune she'd been singing the night he found her. How did it go? She asked, turning to face him. The Reverend will marry us whenever we're ready, Sam replied, hanging up his coat. I also spoke with Doc Peterson. He said he'd be happy to deliver the baby when the time comes. Emma nodded, relief evident on her face. And what did you tell them about us? The truth, Sam said simply. That I met a wonderful woman who needed help and that we fell in love. Doc Peterson's wife was with him, and she seemed delighted at the prospect of a wedding and a baby. She's already offered to help with whatever we need. You make it sound like the whole town will welcome us with open arms. Sam crossed to her and pulled her into his embrace, marveling at how perfectly she fit against him. Most will, and the ones who don't, well, they weren't friends worth having anyway. As they held each other, Emma's baby kicked strongly, making them both laugh. Sam placed his hand on her belly, feeling the life stirring within. When? Emma asked quietly. Tomorrow, if you want, Sam replied. Or we can wait until you feel ready. Emma was quiet for a moment, then looked up at him with a smile that lit up her entire face. Tomorrow sounds perfect. If you're enjoying this heartwarming story, please hit that like button and subscribe to see how it ends. The next morning dawned clear and bright, with the kind of crisp spring air that promised new beginnings. Emma woke to find Sam already up, dressed in his best suit, a simple but well-tailored brown wool that made his eyes look almost golden in the morning light. "Good morning, Mrs. Morrison Tooby," he said with a grin that made Emma's heart flutter. "Good morning, Mr. Morrison," she replied, sitting up carefully. The baby had been particularly active during the night, as if sensing the importance of the day ahead. Sam had ridden to town early to arrange for witnesses and ensure everything was ready for their simple ceremony. Mrs. Peterson had sent along a dress pale blue cotton with tiny white flowers that she thought would suit Emma perfectly. It was simple but beautiful, and when Emma tried it on, it fit remarkably well despite her pregnancy. "You look beautiful," Sam said when she emerged from the bedroom, and the reverence in his voice made her believe it. The ceremony took place in the small church at the edge of town, with only the Petersons and Reverend Matthew's wife as witnesses. Emma had worried about facing strangers, but Mrs. Peterson immediately embraced her like an old friend, fussing over her dress and hair with maternal affection. "It's so wonderful to see Samuel happy again," she whispered to Emma as they waited for the ceremony to begin. "Sarah's been gone 2 years, and he's been like a ghost. But look at him now, he's alive again." Emma glanced at Sam, who was speaking quietly with the Reverend, and her heart swelled with love and gratitude. This good man was choosing to tie his life to hers, to love her child as his own, and to face whatever challenges might come their way together. The ceremony itself was brief but meaningful. As they exchanged vows, Emma felt the baby kick, as if in approval, and she couldn't help but smile. When Sam slipped a simple gold band, his mother's ring, which he'd retrieved from his strongbox, that morning, onto her finger, she felt a sense of belonging she'd never experienced before. "You may kiss your bride," Reverend Matthews said with a warm smile. Sam's kiss was gentle and reverent, a promise of all the love and protection he was offering. When they broke apart, both had tears in their eyes, but they were tears of joy and hope. The Petersons insisted on hosting a small celebration at their home, and Emma found herself surrounded by warmth and acceptance she hadn't expected. Doc Peterson examined her briefly and pronounced both mother and baby healthy and thriving. "Should be any day now," he told Sam quietly. "You'll want to send for me the moment labor begins." As the sun began to set, Sam and Emma returned to their cabin, their home. The word felt foreign but wonderful to Emma, who had never had a place that truly belonged to her. Any regrets? Night wore on. Emma's labor intensified. Sam stayed by her side when allowed, holding her hand and offering words of encouragement. During the worst contractions, she gripped his hand so tightly he thought she might break it, but he never pulled away. "You're doing beautifully," he murmured during a brief respite. "So strong, so brave." "I'm scared," Emma admitted, exhaustion clear in her voice. "I know," Sam said, brushing her sweat-dampened hair from her forehead. "But you're not alone. I'm right here, and I'm not going anywhere." Just as dawn was breaking, after nearly 12 hours of labor, James Samuel Morrison made his entrance into the world with a lusty cry that brought tears to everyone's eyes. Doc Peterson cleaned the baby quickly and placed him in Emma's arms. "He's perfect," Emma whispered, staring down at her son in wonder. The baby had a shock of dark hair and was already trying to focus his eyes on his mother's face. Sam leaned over them both, and Emma saw his face transform with an expression of pure love and amazement. "He's beautiful, Emma. Absolutely beautiful. Would you like to hold him?" she asked softly. With infinite care, Sam took the baby in his arms. James immediately settled, as if recognizing the safety and love surrounding him. "Hello there, son," Sam whispered. "Welcome home." In that moment, watching her husband hold their child with such tenderness, Emma felt her heart overflow with gratitude and love. This man had saved her life in every way possible, and now they were a family. "I love you, Samuel Morrison," she said softly. "I love you too, Emma Morrison," he replied, leaning down to kiss her forehead. "Both of you, forever." As the morning sun streamed through the cabin windows, illuminating this new family in golden light, Emma realized that sometimes the most beautiful love stories begin not with passion or grand gestures, but with simple kindness offered in a moment of desperate need. Sam had given her shelter from a storm, but he had also given her something far more precious: a home, a family, and a love that would weather any storm that came their way. What an incredible journey we've shared together, from a desperate rescue in a blizzard to a beautiful family born from love and hope. Sam and Emma's story reminds us that sometimes our greatest blessings come disguised as our darkest moments, and that love truly can bloom in the most unexpected circumstances. If you enjoyed this heartwarming tale of second chances and found family, please leave a comment below. I'd love to know which part of the story touched you the most. Was it Sam's initial rescue, their growing connection during the storm, or perhaps that beautiful moment when he first held baby James? What did you think of Emma's courage in leaving her past behind, or Sam's willingness to open his heart again after loss? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one and love discussing these stories with you. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our stories of love, hope, and the triumph of the human spirit. Until next time, remember that sometimes the most beautiful chapters of our lives begin when we least expect.